Wait, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Mark, and I've got several issues that I'd like to talk about here today about the friend of the court, the Van Buren County courts in general, and why, like so many other issues in our government, there's no way for us to get the people that work in the government to actually fulfill their obligation and to do it well and to do it without malice or prejudice. The case in point for me has been the friend of the court system in Deb Hammond. Because in 2002, I had to start being involved with a friend of the court because I have 2 children with a woman that I wasn't going to live with or be married to. So her and her husband, rather than accept a 50-50 split of the time with the kids and a little bit of money for them, they wouldn't accept that. So they filed a complaint at the friend of the court. We had to then come in and file what they call a paternity assessment or a responsibility for paternity, and that was where I first met Deb Hammond. And what Deb Hammond did to me at the friend of the court at the time was, see, she had an assessment, she had a ruling, all within 5 minutes. No interview, no documentation, no transparency. She just said, the mother, the woman gets the children in cases like this. That's the law, no questions asked. I was then reduced in statute in the law with regards to my children, and I've never been able to recover because of illnesses, because of business crashes, or the crash in the economy 6 years ago. My business crashed. They've never been able to be sensible, to be fair. The things that we were told in civics class in school and in that silly thing that we call the Pledge of Allegiance about liberty and justice for all, those things don't happen here. These people have absolutely no idea of how hard we struggle, of how bad I want to be a part of my kids' life, and their bigotry and their incompetence is overwhelming. From day one, when she told me that I didn't get equal custody of my kids because I was a man, that should have been a violation of my constitutional rights. But as in what I've found in lots of other instances, since I've been involved in the government, since I've been my time as a veteran, while I was a sailor, the things that we think of as rights, you know what? Most of those things, it's not against the law for these middle-level bureaucrats and civil servants to just absolutely be prejudicial, to be malicious, and absolutely void all of our constitutional rights with a stroke of their pen. And what I'm talking about is we were led to believe that we have equal access to the law, that we're going to have lawyers, that there's going to be people that represent us. And here at the courthouse in Paw Paw, if you're behind in child support, like me, I've been sick for the last 5 years. They've taken my tax returns. They've done absolutely everything that they can, but they've never been reasonable. There's not one person in this building that it's their job to be my caseworker and my advocate. Now, how can anybody tell me that they satisfy the equal protection under the law when that's the case? For 10 years, I've had a case there. For 7 or 8 years, I've been behind in child support because I couldn't pay the ridiculous amounts that they set. They're arbitrary. They have nothing to do with what it costs to raise a kid. It has nothing to do with a cost that the mother incurs. As a matter of fact, it's so generous, the numbers that they gave her, she's been able to afford for 10 years to sit at home, to not work, and have more children. Well, I think that that's absolutely horrible, that I have to subsidize her and her husband's lifestyle while my kids go to an absolutely horrible school that's in the bottom 10%. The school district that I live in is in the top 10% of the state, and Judge Hamry and Deb Hammond and her imps here at the the friend of the court, they don't care. They don't recognize me as her equal. It's been as the mother's equal. She's the custodial parent. Judge Hammery and her, starting instantly, took away all of my rights. In 2004, they set the child support based on numbers that weren't real. They asked me, did your business make money? I said, well, yeah. Okay, well then what was it? And that's what they set my child support at. Not at my personal deductions, not at the business expenses that I incur, none of that. And so for the last 10 years, I've been trying to pay numbers that I just can't obtain. And I've tried over and over again to file paperwork, to get the stuff reduced, and they just absolutely will not have it. In 2006, I had another trial. I tried to hire several different attorneys in this area, between Wally Loxonen and some of the other ones that just absolutely misrepresented me. And then they fired me and took me to small claims court because they knew that I expected fairness, that I expected exact fairness. Two grown adults walking in with a child to walk out with absolutely everything split. The time split, the money split, all of that. But that's not what they do here. That's not equality. But that would be equality. They're not worried about equality. Deb, since she told me that the woman gets the rights to the kids, several summers they've taken away my time with my kids. Judge Hammery, once he found out that I had a chronic medical condition and that I was a medical marijuana patient, because of how broke I was, I had to represent myself in a court of law. Well, I have no idea what their terms are. These people wouldn't even let me have access to the copy machine. That's how bigoted and how absolutely spiteful these people are. Well, I had to run down the street to the copy while David Hunt, the lawyer that I had hired in 1998, that then represented Joanne 5 years later, well, starting 3 years later. It took me a couple of years to get It took me a couple of years to get a motion and a complaint, which these people wouldn't hear. So I then filed a complaint with against the judge, the Judicial Tenure Commission, and the Attorney Grievance Council. And you want to talk about groups of people that have no transparency, that make backroom deals. They all said that they investigated, but not one time did any of those groups actually contact me and tell me what their proceedings were, ask me for information. They didn't do any of that. They sent me a letter, they sent the judge the letter, and the same with the Attorney Grievance Commission about David Hunt, because he showed up here a couple of years later after I had used him in a divorce proceedings. He then shows up as Joanne's attorney, and I file a complaint, and he and Hammery had a backroom deal, and he is still her lawyer. And I filed a complaint against the judge for it, and I get to the Michigan Bar Association. Nobody cared. So he's still our attorney, and I filed a complaint telling the Judicial Tenure Commission that, hey, this judge does not care about the rules of conduct in the court, do not care about informing me, and the Judicial Tenure Commission didn't care. But you know what? Last year, that judge was forced to resign for the same thing. Because he didn't care about the people in front of them. He was concerned with a backroom deal with the lawyers, just like I had told them 4 or 5 years earlier. And if they had had any transparency, if they were worried in any way about the stuff that I was saying, they would have given me some relief, given me a change of venue, given me anything. Because the lawyers here and the judges absolutely trump what the laws are, and I think it's horrible. Now, because of my illness, I've got a chronic pain that attacks my joints, my ankles, my knees, my hips, my shoulders, my elbows, my wrists. And rather than the 5 years of the opiates and destroying my intestines and my stomach and my body, now for the last several years I've been a medical marijuana patient. Well, the law says that they're not supposed to be able to use this against me in child custody hearings. Well, Judge Hamry stopped the proceedings and basically threw me out of court, wouldn't change my child support. So now, for the last 2.5 years, almost $500 a month, I've been sick. I've been telling these people they bring me into court every 3 or 4 months, and because there is nobody in that office that it's their job to be my advocate, they don't care. They keep hauling me in. I keep trying to get the stuff lowered, and they just refuse to do it. And see, this is what really bothers me. See, I know that what they do to me is what they do to every man. And the reason that it really bothers me is because in 1982, I raised my right hand. I swore that I would uphold the Constitution and I joined the Navy. I did 6 years. I did 3 overseas deployments. For 4 years, I was on that ship. I was part of the furniture there. I put my life on hold for 6 years to defend the Constitution of this country. And Deb Hammond, you should be ashamed of the way that you have demanded, that you've used the Constitution for personal gain. You've demanded to be paid fairly, but in no way did you write any policy that was ever as generous as the demands that you made of the government. The woman that is your boss, the judges that have been here, the people that have complained every day to them, these people could care less about how prejudice and the malicious acts that you subject us, and it's 90% men. It's slavery. And what drives me up a wall is that to see these people that are pro-abortion advocates stand there and say, well, I should have an abortion because no court should be able to order me what happens with me and my body or my kids. Well, that's exactly what Deb Hammond, Paul Hamry, now they've got replacement judges, the friend of the court, they haven't changed anything. I've been in there. They still have the same malicious, prejudicial system that they've had. It's time to stop. What I'm asking for is for people to boycott Paw Paw, to don't buy a car here, to don't buy gas here, don't buy a drink here, don't come anywhere near this town because of the way that the Republicans, and this is why this really bothers me. Tanya Schuetmaker was practiced in this courthouse. She's the Republican that is the state senator. She is now going to get this district in Allegan. She knew when she went to Lansing, she knew how corrupt this town was. She's been there for 4 years. She didn't do one thing to better this. She's a Republican. The county commissioners that are supposed to oversee this court and the conduct of the friend of the court, they're Republicans. The lady that is the boss, she demanded all of her life to be paid fairly, equally, just like a man. Why aren't there policies? Why is there not somebody that enforces the same policies that they expect? Why isn't there somebody that helps me get the same equality and the same fairness? Because what I've found, trying to get a hold of the Civil Rights Commission, trying to find any kind of legal help, the only people that they help are the people that are in a civil rights defined group, which means minorities and women. So here I am. There's nobody to help me. I'm a vet. I did 6 years, honorably discharged. I did my time to fulfill the Constitution. These people, they use the Constitution as a weapon. They're not worried about fairness, equality, equal access, none of that. We've got to change it. Thank you very much.